I saw a suggestion yesterday with Rivalries saying that I should take the Metro and put like 4 or 5 of them all on the same board. No, there's enough here to talk about individual rivalries, and why not? So the Islanders and the Rangers. This rivalry hasn't been kindled in the playoffs in a long time because the Islanders haven't been relevant for a long time, not consistently. And then when they're relevant, the Rangers aren't, or they just don't meet. So they met 4 years in a row at one point. Now, before I started watching hockey, they met in 1975. This was the Islanders' first time in the playoffs, and they knocked off the heavily favored Rangers in a best-of-3 series in three. So, 1979, they meet again in the semifinals. Now it's the Islanders that would be favored in that series. The Islanders, who had been great during the regular season, and they lost in the semifinals to the Rangers in six. Coming out of that series, there was plenty of questions about whether or not the Islanders were actually built to win in the playoffs. I know, because I have the hockey news about it. Telling you, these old magazines and books that people are like, why does he get those? Because it tells you where the media was in terms of their thinking with each team, and it's really, really fascinating to look back on that. Because we can all look back now and say, well, what a great dynasty the Islanders had. And they did, but before that dynasty started, there were plenty of questions about whether or not they would ever get there. Now, the hatred between Islanders and Rangers fans is there. And of course, there was also an incident between Flyers and Islanders fans. I believe Flyers and Islanders were two Santa Clauses get into a shoving match on the ice. So, the New York, you're going to have your fiery personalities, and Philadelphia, you got your fiery fans and personalities as well. Basically, the East Coast. I don't know what it is on the East Coast, but when these teams meet each other, it's not pleasant. Potvin sucks was one of a couple of chants about Potvin. There are some really not friendly chants that I don't want to get into here, but if you're an Islanders or Rangers fan, you may remember some of the chants about Denny Potvin. But the Potvin sucks chant was coming from a break of Ulf Samuelsson's ankle. Now, Denny Potvin was considered a clean player when he played, not by Rangers fans. And Ulf Nilsson himself has said it was a freak thing. His skate was planted in such a manner that his ankle snapped when Potvin hit him. Ranger fans don't want to hear it. Ulf Nilsson was a pretty solid player for the Rangers, and that ankle break definitely didn't help. And then there was DP Sucks, which is against Rick DiPietro. Eventually, I think a lot of fans caught on to that. And We Want Fish Sticks. And, of course, when the Islanders did their rebrand, the We Want Fish Sticks started with Ranger fans. But Islander fans aren't immune either. There was one about Theo Fleury that I didn't put up here. Again, if you look up Rangers Islanders rivalry online, you'll find some of this. I didn't want to get into it because again, some of it's not very pleasant. It's one of those things. It's sort of like I know when I started watching Premier League soccer, and I was talking to I had a coworker that was from England, and I asked him. I said, "So, if fans are chanting and they're singing and all that, I can't really understand what they're singing." And he's like, "Oh, I'll tell you what they're singing." And he told me some of the stuff they were saying. I'm like, wow, really? Yep. About the other guy on the other team. Yep. That's what they were saying. Yep. Well, it sounds nice. So, and chants sound friendly enough. So, on the Islanders side of things, the 1940 chant starts with them in 1981, which, of course, the rest of the NHL fans went, we can do that too. And it continued until 1994 when the Rangers won it. But after the Rangers won it, there was then a chant from Islander fans about how, yeah, they won it in 94, but they bought the cup. And if you're happy and you know it, there's Ranger lyrics in that. And I was trying to figure out a way to put it on the board. But yeah, they were putting it there like, oh, here's line 1, line 2, and line 3. And I'm like, that doesn't even fit with the song. Is that really what they're singing? I don't know. They're like variations. I was like, what variations? What are you talking about? So apparently if you're happy and you know it, if you're an Islanders fan, you can chant Ranger songs. By all means, if they're family friendly, throw them down below. What a rivalry. These two, I wonder how much of it is just playful, we're joking around, and how much of it is we really can't stand those guys. Because again, it's a New York rivalry. So it wouldn't surprise me if there was a lot of, yeah, we really can't stand them. And if there was also some sprinkled in, it's fine. It's not a big deal. We really don't care. There's a Pat LaFontaine trophy. Pat LaFontaine played for the Islanders and the Rangers. He should have been an Islander for life, but that's a whole other topic for a whole other video. And the trophy has existed since 2001. So whoever wins the regular season series between the Rangers and the Islanders, the winner gets a trophy to carry around the ice, and the loser has to pay $50,000 to a charity of Pat LaFontaine's decision. That's nice. That's a good friendly competition between the Islanders and the Rangers. And what's interesting is you look at the all-time regular season record, and the Rangers are ahead in that. The Islanders dominated this throughout their dynasty, but since the dynasty died off, and especially since '94, it's really kind of been the Rangers' show. The Rangers have been the better team. Now they've met 6 times. 1981, it was the semifinals, so much like 1979 where they met in the semis. And the Islanders must have remembered this was a Rangers team that knocked them off because this was a bloodbath. 22-8 was the combined score in favor of the Islanders. It's Billy Smith against Steve Baker. So if you're a Rangers fan and you remember Steve Baker, congratulations. You're likely as old as I am. Bossy had 5 goals and 1 assist to lead the Islanders. And Anders Hedberg, 2 goals and 1 assist to lead the Rangers. So there's a blast from the past for you. 1982, they met in round 2, and the Islanders win again, this time in 6. And the score was 27-20 overall in favor of the Islanders, so not as bad. Billy Smith was in net, and the goalies of record at the other end were Eddie Mio and Steve Weeks. So Trottier had 2 goals and 8 assists to lead the Islanders in scoring, and Robbie Ftorek led the Rangers with 4 goals and 3 assists and a fantastic helmet. If you haven't seen the helmet that Ftorek wore when he played in the NHL, it's kind of fantastic. Look up his hockey cards. You'll see it. It's glorious. 1983, they met in round 2 again. And the Islanders decided, well, we're going to do this again. Keep in mind, the Islanders were in the process of winning 19 series in a row. 4 of those 19 are at the expense of the New York Rangers. Over 20% of the series they won in a row were against the New York Rangers. Now, this series they won by a combined score of 28-15. So even though the series is the same, the scoring was more in favor of the Islanders. Billy Smith was in net for the 4 wins, and Rolly Melanson was in net for the 2 losses for the New York Islanders. Now, on the Rangers side of things, it's Eddie Mio and Glenn Hanlon. Hanlon was 0-1, and Mio was 2-3. I apologize if you guys hear geese in the background of my videos. I'm going to just go ahead and throw it there. We've had a mommy and a daddy goose that are clearly looking for a place to roost, and they've decided that this yard is great. Now, of course, I haven't mowed the lawn yet because of the flowers that Yvonne had planted, and I mean, she's told me she's going to go pick the flowers, and I can mow it this week. But now I'm kind of torn. I even posted on Instagram because they come over and they roost here every morning. They're here at like 5 or 6 in the morning every day, and they lay out here in the grass and they hang out. They eat flowers and weeds, and it's kind of nice. And you know, if at some point they're going to roost, that means we'd have like little goslings running around, and that to me sounds fun. So I'm sorry if you guys hear geese in the background of my videos. But there you go. That's why you may hear geese in the background of my videos. Now, the scoring leaders for the 83 series. I mean, people going... Anybody who's this is their first video is going to be like, what in the hell? Bob Bourne led the Islanders in scoring with 2 goals and 10 assists. Ron Duguay and George McPhee both had 2 goals and 2 assists for the Rangers to lead them in scoring. So, it was, again, at a time where there's no defense in the NHL, the Islanders were playing it. 1984. So, this is... after their last cup win, but during that 19 series in a row. They met in the first round. They outlasted the Rangers 3-2, but this is as close as it gets. The Rangers outscored them 14-13. Billy Smith was the goaltender on the winning side, and it's Glenn Hanlon that's the goaltender on the losing side in this. Brent Sutter leads them in scoring with a goal and 3 assists. Mark Pavlich, 2 goals and 4 assists for the New York Rangers to lead them in scoring. So, close series in 84, and they don't meet again until 6 years later. 1990, the New York Rangers finally win their first series since 1979. So 11 years later, after 4 straight losses against the Islanders, they beat them, and they beat them in the first round badly. 4-1, the final scoring is 22-13 for the Rangers. The Islanders had Healy and Fitzpatrick as their goaltenders. If you're old enough to remember Healy and Fitzpatrick, they were pretty. That was a pretty good tandem that they had there for the Islanders for a little while there, and then things kind of fell apart. Healy ends up with the Rangers. I understand he may have been on the roster when they won the Cup in 1994. Richter and Van Beesbroek were the goalies of record for the Rangers that year. And Brent Sutter, 2 goals, 3 assists to, again, lead the Islanders. So 2 series in a row, he's the leading scorer for the Islanders. 6 years apart, I might add. And James Patrick was the leading scorer among the Rangers with 2 goals and 5 assists. So 1994, the last time these teams played, oh boy, I remember this series. This was an absolute slaughter. If there was a series that you could have called after Game 1 and said, this isn't fair, this was it. The Rangers didn't just come out to beat the Islanders. They came out to eviscerate the Islanders. Rangers fans couldn't wait to silence the 1940 chants and to have all kinds of fun little chants of their own. The one I remember the most, and it's not anywhere on, I remember this, "We want Hextall." Ron Hextall couldn't stop a beach ball in this series. It was terrible. The New York Islanders in general were terrible, but when your goaltender can't stop anything, wow. 22-3 was the final score overall. The scores were 6-0, 6-0, 5-1, and 5-2. And when Jamie McLennan was in net and he starts getting bombed, the Ranger fans start chanting, "We want Hextall." So the "We want Hextall" and the clapping, yeah. And that was right about where I was like, man, this series just isn't nice. Hextall was 0-3 with an .800 save percentage. 800. Jamie McLennan was 0-1 with an .872. The other end of the rink, Mike Richter had a .967 save percentage and 2 shutouts in the 4 games. And Brian Leach led the series in scoring with 2 goals, 6 assists. I didn't put up a Ranger, or an Islander, I should say, because they had 3 goals in the entire series. Who's going to lead them in scoring? Somebody with 1 point. 1 point. Ray Ferraro was one of the guys with a goal. This was absolutely a slaughter. Keep in mind, this is after '93, where the Islanders were the feel-good team that went to the semifinals. Well, conference final at that time. Conference final, it's been known as forever, but I still think of it as a semifinals. I just don't say it in videos. I normally catch myself. But in the conference finals the year before in '93, after knocking off Pittsburgh and going in against Montreal, and there was some feeling that maybe the Islanders, maybe they're going back to not necessarily their glory days, but being relevant. This series knocked them down pretty darn bad. And it wasn't close. None of the games were close. You could have called this after game 2. 12-0 combined score after game 2. After game 3, no. And I remember thinking going into game 4, well, maybe the Rangers can get something going. Maybe they, no. So the Islanders dominated during the 80s while they had their dynasty going, and then the Rangers won 8 of the last 9 playoff games between these teams. The feud between the fans is still there. You see it anytime these teams meet in the regular season. The feud between the teams is still there. You see it in the regular season when they meet each other. I'm wearing Islanders because they did beat them 4 times in 4 years along the way with their dynasty. But if I was going with recent history, I'd be wearing Rangers. I really want to see these teams meet each other in the playoffs. I want to see it happen soon. And this is a feud that I would really like to see rekindled. With Sorokin at one end and Shesterkin at the other. Who doesn't want that? I know Islanders and Rangers fans would agree with each other and with me on that one. So there you go. It is a great feud. It is a great rivalry. It is great fun. And some of the chants, like I said, I can't put on the board. It's not that I don't know them. I do. It's just I'm like, oh, no, you can't. No, I can't. I can't put that on the board. I can't put that on the board. Nope. Can't do. And it's both fan bases. It's not just Rangers or Islanders. Both fan bases have had some chants that seem really kind of offside. But like I said, overseas, yeah, that's normal at soccer games. What are they saying? Oh, what? The other team wants to do what to their dog? Anyways, those Europeans, crazy, right? Okay, thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. As always, don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And if you're on the East Coast, I understand it's not warm down there today. It was warm here today. So if I could send that warmth that way, I would send some of it. Not all of it, but some of it in that direction. But we'll see how long that lasts. It feels like summer here today. It's weird. Thank you guys again for all of your support throughout. It means a ton. And we're going to get through this. And I get the feeling we'll see hockey sooner. Maybe later. But we'll get it back. And until then, I will be here making videos for all you fine people. Thanks again for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.